like through my application process, I looked for the girls that were different in a way and just did not, like, they weren't necessarily into everything, but they were rough around the edges a little bit.
Yeah.
I gotta have a challenge. Right. I gotta have a challenge. So I always kept me a wild card. I don't know. And again, like you said, they were oftentimes very resistant, those wild cards.
Now, what about the boys? No boys?
Yeah. Yeah, I do have some guys, and I used to coach those jokers up a lot. I don't remember how. Okay, so they were my students as well, but I followed them. Like, I moved through high school with them because I got that other promotion or whatever to the high school.
Right.
So I ended up just being with them. And again, like, they kind of just chose me, but it was the ones that kind of drew towards me were the smart athletes. Like, the guys that weren't your average, typical athlete.
Dumb jock.
Yeah, the ones that everybody else kind of gravitated towards. For some reason, in my school, the smart athlete got overlooked. It was the rough around the edges that those that got all the attention. So I kind of gravitated towards the athlete that did not fit that stereotype.
Right.
When it came to boys.
Now, okay, so my experience is there are a few that, like you said, that there's some sort of mutual relationship. I can't always just be, come on, reeling you in, and you haven't really given me much to go on. I feel like there always has to be like a conscious effort of some good in you.
Right.
That you have a good heart, or that you have circumstances
that you
stop you from being the greatest that you can be.
Yeah.
So, like, my closest is one that she's just graduated from college, and she's just one that always connected with me from the beginning. So yeah, like you said, same vibe, kind of the same level of smarts, the same learning stuff, like that. Now the boys, I feel like the boys are a little bit different. The boys are not as effortless as the girls, because the girls will seek you. The boys, I kind of had to be like, listen, I see this. I don't want you doing this. Let me call. Like, I had one boy that I had to pull aside last year. He's on the basketball team, and it is athletes. Not always athletes, but my boys who I've mentored are always criers. Like, the minute
what you mean?
They cry. They cry around me. Like, if I ask them something one-on-one, they'll cry.
Oh.
And so I like that. Like, grabs me.
Yeah, that's for life, right?
Because I'm like, that means that you really are comfortable enough around me to, like, really be vulnerable. Like, for a high school boy.
Yes.
Majority black. I had one Hispanic, but they all have had tears with me. And I'm like, I didn't know. Like, that is really very, to me, it's very, like, it's moving every single time. But after that, I'm just like, well, I'm not going to let you go now. Like, I'm going to be chasing you because you have opened yourself up in that kind of way, just to kind of, and it always is if I'm calling them out on something, like if your grades aren't right, or if you have something like, I see your lips are black. Have you been smoking weed?
Yeah.
And then it's like the tears. I'm like, what is that you feel? And so it does end up being very productive, but I think it's just that soft place to land for them. Maybe that everything is rough. I was going to say,
I feel like it's probably because other people see it too, but nobody else has a dialogue with them about it, or and that makes them feel like, oh my gosh, this lady cares for real.
Or they see it and they address it in a different way. Like, if it's their coach, they're going to cuss them out and put them out there, and then they're around
make
their
them feel
friends.
like smut.
They can't cry because then it was like, dang, my homies are right here. So I think it's that. Or even when it's like, listen, you're not turning your work in. What's going on? The fact that I
somebody's holding them accountable.
Right. But I'm like, so is that what they want?
Yep.
Yeah.
It is.
So that's what a mentor for us, for our students, would be someone who holds them accountable for who they are as a person. Like,
absolutely.
You know? And I think we'll talk later about, on another episode, about who we keep as mentors. Because that's a different...
Or are you ever too old to get a mentor? Because I feel like people think mentors are just for kids.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that.
So that would be cool. And so I have a dream that I would love to just collect a whole bunch of kids and let them be mine, and we would live in a house and they'd never have to go through the stuff they go through in their own neighborhoods.
I know.
And we would block them from all of the issues that go along with the environmental issues that go along with them, and that they could just be ours and raise them.
I agree, girl. I had a dream about this kindred spirit. You know, we always have these discoveries on this podcast on things that we had in common that we didn't know about. But I remember a friend of mine and I always talked about starting a group home it was for girls though, and it's called My Sister's Keeper. And like, because there were so many teenagers in high school that were going through so much in their lives, and all I could say was, you only have one more year to graduate. Just hold it together. You only have one more year, and you can determine your outcome. If you want to move out, if you want to get a job, if you want to go to the armed forces, like whatever you want to do to get out of this. And
I think the hardest part about being a mentor like that, when the parents really aren't doing justice to the child, maybe they don't recognize it, they're just too busy. The hardest part is to be able to bite your tongue about how their parents are handling it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because we get a whole lot of opinions, but I would never tell someone that their mom is unfit. You know what I mean? So the whole idea of taking you out of your house and you come live with me is kind of like, really? Yeah. And so I mean, that is a very special decision. And I think you mentioned teachers that'll say like, I wish they could just come home with me. But have they really thought about the impact of that?
But like you said earlier when I was talking about that, because I don't like it. I mean, I get that people say that sometimes to make themselves feel as if they're being
charitable.
Yes, exact word that I was thinking of.
And you get a different feeling when you hear people say that versus someone who really
exactly
cares. They wouldn't say that.
Because the thing is, how are you going to say this and you don't even have a relationship enough with the kid where they even want to come home with you? So miss me with all that. You don't like the child in your classroom. How you going to like them at your house?
Because you would reset so many things. Yeah. I mean, honestly, resetting a lifestyle that they've lived their entire life, and I teach high school.
Oh, yeah.
How are you going to break that? It would have to be something in that baby that made you be invested regardless of what they have going on.
Yes.
You can't push a reset button and erase it all. Like,
you can't.
I love, and I feel like social workers probably feel the same way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they deal with whole households that are like, I remember I had one of my sorority sisters was a social worker, and she one time at Christmas was like spending her entire Christmas bringing gifts and bringing a tree and bringing the dinner to this family that she'd been working with. She's not in that field anymore. She's a psychiatrist, but she was like, I can't do this. Like, my whole life is invested in this whole family, and what am I doing on Christmas? So that is
running with them.
That is where that's where we stand, because we have our own kids. We have our own husband. If we were single, it may be a little bit of a different story.
Oh yeah, I was way more
open,
active, going to games. I did a lot when I didn't have kids. A lot more.
Yeah, we even had a boy, and World Famous is kind of similar. It's simmered down since we've had kids. We had a son-ish who lived with us through his college years. And it is, I mean, I'll tell you the story about it later, but he's in jail right now.
Oh.
So it was one of those, he didn't have a mother, he didn't have a father, he stayed with us, he went to jail, got out, got another full football scholarship, then came back and went to jail again.
Oh, no.
So, I mean, we're very hesitant. After that was before I had Professor. But we were all in on that boy, because it was like, we know he needs this, this is what we have to offer. But it was heartbreaking. Like, dang, when you step in even and it ends like that. And sometimes you take the chance and it doesn't turn out to be the greatest situation. So
that is scary.
Yeah. He's been in there for about Amari, World Famous is 11.
World Famous 11?
He's 11. So that means the boy is like, he's been in jail for over 11 years. Oh, I mean, he did some serious.
Oh, that is so sad.
Serious stuff. And it was like, you can't save somebody sometimes from what they have, what they're dealing with, regardless of what you think you can offer them, you know?
But don't get weary in well-doing.
Right. Because
sometimes it's just a matter of planting seeds. Mm-hmm. It's crazy that you mentioned this. Maybe I can pull this up right quick. One of my students, and it was such a shocker. I was not. She is probably 20. Mm-hmm. 20-ish. Randomly, on August the 2nd, she sent this message. Mm-hmm. So y'all don't think I'm pulling up some throwback. Hey, Miss Mitchell, I just wanted to take a minute from your undoubtedly busy day to say thank you. The older I get, the more I realize that mentor-wise, I've been extremely blessed. So thank you for meeting a shy 7th grader and making her think a little harder. Thank you for seeing a hurt 12th grader and looking out for her. Crying it out in your office saved her life more than you might think. Thank you for continuing to be an inspiration, even from afar. I sincerely hope that your school year and life in general treats you beautifully. So, it hit me because
this is not to brag about what you've done, but
not at all.
It's interesting to understand people that you actually have impact on and you didn't really even know it. So that
I know that when she was going through her stuff with her mama, mm-hmm. I remember working really hard to be something for her. Like, mm-hmm. I didn't know. She's super independent, super smart, mm-hmm. just with it to death. Mm-hmm. Just a good girl. But, she was kind of like living in poverty and just, life was happening. Her mama was sick. She was the only child in the house. Like, all that stuff. It happens without planning it, obviously. So I was trying to be something for her. And at that time, I wasn't for certain if I was enough for her. Right. I was just like, I felt like I needed to do more. Offer her the opportunity to come live with us. Like, all those things crossed my mind when she was going through all of that. She was transitioning into college. There was a lot of stuff happening. And I talked her through all that. And, like she said, spent many days in my office. But then to think, okay, that was probably 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. And then she's saying that I'm still even mentoring her from afar. And it's just Facebook. Right. She's just able to see what I'm doing through Facebook.
Realize that you're still doing the things that impacted her also.
So sometimes when you're being a mentor, because we've just spoken about like 2 totally different types of situations, like where you really took a kid all the way in. And then I did not do that, but I was kind of just there for her in the time of a storm. So mentoring can be on different levels. Right. Sometimes we feel like we have to save the world, and that is our heart. I mean, we just can't help it. We can't help it. I mean, we can't help it. Anyway, it's just something that you just can't describe when you're seeing and understanding what's going on in a kid's life. You do want to jump in. That's just that's why we're in the profession that we're in.
Right.
But you can, again, just speak life into some kids.
And still make a difference. Yeah. And make an impact that you don't even know you're making.
Yeah.
That's why I feel like with everyone, I don't treat anyone horribly. Mm-hmm. Because you never know, like, who hears that all day long. So, just to be that person that is speaking life to everyone is so important,
And if you're an educator over children, or if you work in a company or for someone where you're over even adults, because my husband and I have this conversation all the time. I'm like, you have to try, and this is not a shameless plug for Be the Light, but I'm like, you have to be the light in your building. Like, absolutely. You have to try to shine some. I mean, I get it. You on the grind, you trying to meet these numbers, whatever it is your job has for you to